Shashwat Bulusu, welcome to a brand new episode of One BJ's playlist. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just I'm in Bombay in some shady hotel at the moment, trying to escape this place. But yeah,
But I believe you are in the midst of your tour for, to promote your, on your latest release that is Aabad. And
yeah,
you've pretty much been on the road now, touring across the length and breadth of our country and
yeah.
performing at various venues. How has that been so far?
That's been great. Like just the whole idea of doing this tour was to interact with communities that are already there. Now that community need not be around music, but it's just like a bunch of people who know each other and they're like there for a common purpose, and sort of interacting with them, getting to learn from them, getting and for me to present my music to them and sort of reconnect with the people who have heard my music or who've seen me perform, because it's been 3 years since I've been on tour. So like this is sort of like getting back there. So it's a bit tiring, but yeah, like you have to go through it. Yeah, see through.
Well, this seems to be your debut release in Hindi, which features two very prominent tracks, Aabad and Charkha, which, in
Yeah.
your words, are mirror images of one another. So tell us a little bit about these two tracks and what makes one different from the other.
So Abad is a song about uh about optimism and like how optimism could be your vehicle, and but it goes into the territory of how that optimism on its own can become toxic, and
Hmm.
like people really like choose to have like optimism as their boat, which takes them from point A to point B without like and being devoid of what is happening in the real world. So when I wrote that, I was, and then when I got to writing Charkha, I was like, I need something to counter this narrative of like absolute like absolute optimism, and the opposite narrative for absolute optimism is absolute hard work and like just the toxic hustle culture that we are in. So while like so I was like it ended up happening that while the songs, the lyrics are like fairly, they do give the hope and all, but if you actually read into it a little more, there are like it's literally talking about like whatever may come your way, you have to keep working. And like it's also like they're two ends of the same conversation, and both of them are like none of them are like in the middle ground, they're like at the extremes. Yeah.
Well, while both these songs reflect the two extreme ends of the spectrum, uh, Shashwat, I'm sure both songs have emerged from a place where you have, in your own ways, felt both ends of the spectrum. Do you want to highlight
Yeah.
more? Because I think both of these songs were sort of conceived, sort of first thought about while we as a country were in 2 years of a limbo with the pandemic. Do you want to highlight further?
Yeah. So the work on the song started a little like in 2019, and like pre-pandemic, and I was just like touring and all of that. And then like just before the pandemic, I just finished a tour and I was quite tired. And touring one full year like does take a toll on your mental health as well. So you're in that weird phase of like, okay, do I want to be like do I want to work this hard if I'm not enjoying it? And and you're just sort of like having all of these thoughts coming through. So that's where like the whole idea of these two songs started. And then obviously like during the pandemic, all of us are like having conversations with ourselves, thinking like, okay, we're trying to be optimistic, and then there'll be like those few weeks of optimism, then there was a crash of like,
Hmm.
okay, what do we do now? And then like again, you want to come back up, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to work the hardest. And like so it was like all of us at some point were like oscillating between these two extremes, and we were finding it really difficult to find like the middle ground of being okay with where we are at. And like for us to be like, if we have to go from like if we want to get to a better place, like it has to be a healthy mix of everything. But like it was like the pandemic just sort of put us in a mixy, and like all of these extreme thoughts would come up, and like we thought that that's the way to sort of be.
while all of us were indoors, of course, Shashwat, while we all stayed indoors, rather, every one of us picked up some skill set. Some of us turned into, overnight bakers. Some of us turned into overnight artists. So suddenly there were so many hobbies that were revived in the middle of the lockdown.
Yeah.
As an artist, of course, somewhere I believe while the pandemic, propelled a lot of us back to the drawing board somewhere. Is there a particular skill or some hobby that you picked up in the middle of the lockdown, which you did not know that actually existed in you?
Uh, I think more than like skill, it was just like knowing that I'm capable of sort of like having like a day's work of what I'm doing while also being able to sort of do the household work. Like it was just like a common, like most of us, especially boys and men, were like brought up thinking that okay, like in this environment where like the maid and the women in the house sort of take care of everything. And like while I would help earlier before the pandemic, it wasn't like an active role that you'd play. You would help clearing the table and clean the table at most after a meal. But over here it's like that whole dependence is taken away on like we were like, especially men, like we lean a lot on the house help and all of that. So that taking that away, because we like in our heads we built up this narrative that okay, we can't do our work if we're doing all of this ghar ka kaam. And
Hmm.
that was like a realization. And then like after a point I was just like, okay, it's a part of my like daily routine. So just I should just accept it. And then it just starts becoming fun. Like it's a part of your day, and like doing all those things. So I think it was more from that. Skill set wise, I was just like I'm going to use this time to not like just work on my craft of writing and writing songs and all. I wasn't really trying to get into it. But yeah, I got better at yoga than where I was earlier.
Well, for our viewers and for our brand new listeners who are not much aware about your work, Shashwat, you've been making music since 2011, but it was your major releases in 2019, which is Playground and
Yeah.
Sunset by the Vembanad, that actually got listeners and fans to, sit up and take notice of the talents that you have. But do you think somewhere largely from the time you started to the time you're witnessing now, do you think somewhere a huge portion of people knowing you or the visibility that you have uh, has to do with social media awareness, or what, in your opinion, has led to people knowing you better?
I think even before like, I mean, obviously, social media has given that extra push for me, but like
Yeah.
for me, it was also like 8 years of like just playing live to an audience. Like and like there was like, and especially leading up to those songs coming out, like I think 2015 onwards, I was just doing a lot of shows, trying to perform wherever I could. So and like spending time with the audiences in whatever places that I could access, for them to know that okay, I'm making music. And like I was doing stuff with those people. I was trying to develop an audience before putting out a song, without the thought that okay, I'm developing an audience. Like I like collecting like mailing like email IDs for like mailing lists and all. I would engage with them. So it was like when the songs were coming out, like all these people that I had performed to and I'd met at all these shows, it was just me sending them an email saying that hey, thank you for being a part of this, and like I'm putting my song out, like my first set of songs out. And I think that was what sort of like gave it that push. And then they took it over on social media, I think, for the first set of releases, where they were like, okay, this is someone that we have supported all these years, and like we want you to listen to it. But yeah, so social media does like push accessibility a lot.
Yeah.
Like like earlier, like when we were still in the CD days, like where streaming was not a big thing, like you'd promote music to sell CDs. But now like that accessibility is needed. You want to like, you are always looking for another audience. Like you're
Hmm.
always looking for more people to access your music. And so yeah, like but now like it's now finding that balance in how you want to use social media. if you wanted to if you want to use it the way which feels more natural to you, and like, and there's no harm in also doing like all the trends and everything. For like, for people who enjoy doing it, it's great. Like, it's just not my thing, but like I am trying to do some stuff on social media. I won't say no, but like it's the stuff that I would want to do myself.
Correct. Very rightly said. Shashwat, let's delve a little bit into your early beginnings. Yeah, when you were a young lad in Baroda,
Yeah.
learning music, and I think much of your influences stem from Hindustani classical. So, do you want to tell us about how you got acquainted to the craft and how over the years you kept honing your skills and how do you bring them to use in the music that you make?
Sure. I think at the age of 3 or 4, I started learning the tabla, because like I come from a South Indian family. Most South Indian families want you to learn some like classical art form, and like over here in like over in Baroda, it's like you're not like Carnatic instruments and all. You're not like you're not able to learn it as much. So my dad gave me the option of learning harmonium or tabla. I was like, okay, I'll play the tabla, because I was 3 or 4. Like, I didn't have as much of like free will that I thought that I had. So just, and then for the next, like, I think all the way till age 15 or 16, I was playing the tabla, and I was doing shows, and I was like doing like a formal training leading up to the Visharad and everything. And then somewhere midway, like I transitioned. I wanted to sort of pick up the guitar because I always wanted to write songs. I didn't know, like, not from a point of view that I want to become a singer or something. I just wanted to write songs because it just feels like a fun activity to do. So I picked up the guitar, and then like within a few months, I was like, okay, I know enough to sort of start writing my own songs, and then it just went there. And what happened was basically, like, my influences from Hindustani are not like I can't name a rag or that all of those as much as you would imagine me to do. The thing is, like, because playing tabla, you're an accompanying musician, so you're playing with other people who are performing all of this. So like, you're listening to a lot of like my teacher used to sort of give me gifts of Zakir Hussain CDs and all. And like all of those things just stayed in the back of my head. So now, like, if I'm singing in Hindi, like it's a little difficult for me to sort of take out like some of the Hindustani influences that I have like sort of acquired over the years. So it's just a difficult thing to sort of get rid of. Like, even if like there's a song where I'm not like, where it need not be like a hit, like Hindustani like classical inflections and all, you don't need that, but like they still make their way at some way or the other, just because like my ear has been trained that way. So I think it was just like that's the Hindustani bit, but otherwise, like, it was just once I got the guitar, it was like like I found like the pen with which I can now write songs, because like you can't, like, tabla is not a writing instrument. So if you want to become a songwriter, you need an instrument to write to. So like guitar became that instrument for me, and then just exploring that as an instrument was another journey altogether, because that wasn't me taking training. That was me sort of like trying to learn the instrument by ear and by feel. Like
Hmm.
I went for like a month's class to sort of understand how like the instrument, and then like just laziness also got in the way. So I was like, I'll learn the instrument myself. YouTube will help me. Yeah.
Well, how would you describe yourself as a musician in terms of the process, or in terms of your preparation, in terms of just how you function as an artist? So, if I have to ask you your opinion about yourself, um, how would you put it across?
I put it as like I'm someone who like in full honesty, I'm someone who tries to write something new, or like on a daily basis. Like I have to write something new, or like add something new to something that I'm already working on a daily basis, like a job. You look at it like a job, where like, because if I'm calling myself a singer songwriter, I can't half-ass it. I have to commit to it. So I have to do the songwriting part as well, like, and that's a craft that you have to keep working. So it's sort of like, just like how like musicians have their like classical musicians do riyaz. This is like that. So just like I do a lot of that to sort of get rid of like the bad writing, so that I can get to something which I like feel like like because I'm not like that. My process isn't that okay. I have this moment of like okay, I have an idea and I need to start writing right now. I do have that once in a while, but that's not how I don't act on just impulses.
Yeah.
But like for that impulse, like for you to be able to convert that impulse into something nice, you need a craft. So that's
Mm.
what I do. Like that's like I think I'm more like I'm still sort of like a student in that way, where I'm like trying to do my homework and trying to understand what works for me, what kind of like what is my vocabulary, what are the kind of words that I feel comfortable using when I'm writing, what feels natural to me. And like if there's a word that I feel like it makes sense for the song, how and I'm not comfortable saying it or singing it because it's not a part of my vocabulary. How do I get myself comfortable with saying that? So like just I think I'm still like in that phase. Like I'm a little academic about it at the moment. Yeah.
So when you occasionally face creative blocks, which we all do, in the middle of a process on most occasions, so how do you overcome that? Do you have people around you who are your sounding board, who you bounce off ideas to, and how do you just deal with the creative blocks in short?
So the thing is like that's why like so that I don't run into creative blocks, I write every day. So because then like you know that okay, you're gonna have days when you're gonna write you're gonna write bad stuff. And like the another thing is like when you write enough, like when you're writing on a daily basis, you start understanding that okay, I know I'm writing something which I don't like myself. So on those days when you're getting everything right, any bad moment you'll be able to sort of predict it. Okay, I'm going in this direction, I need to stop and I need to take a break. Like basically like the practice itself becomes a sounding board. And the one more thing is like I work by myself in my studio. Like I don't have any assistants or
Mhm.
so usually it's like me sort of just spending time with the song and like just gauging what I feel about it. And like not like not the thing is like I'm also like I get a little finicky if someone's pointing out things which I wanted for which I want, and then I don't want to have that conversation trying to justify why I made certain choices. So I'm like, okay, I'll have those conversations myself and
Mhm.
let like the process itself be like the sounding board to sort of let me know if this is good or bad.
Correct. But what happens then, Shashwat, if suppose you have a team or you have a certain set of friends who have a brief understanding about how music works? Um,
Yeah.
how do you take feedback then if there is an opinion that comes your way?
So it usually when I'm sharing with them, I share with my team or like the musicians who perform with me the songs that for me are ready. I will I don't want to it's like no, I don't you don't want to gift a half baked cake like with someone like to taste. So
Right.
like I'll bake it myself and I'll make it something which sounds really nice to me, and then I'll share it. And a lot of times like with Aabad we had a lot of back and forth where we were like okay, this vocal take is still not feeling right. So I'm like, okay, that sort of gives me an idea. Okay. And then they're like, oh, that previous take had this one moment which felt right. So I'm like,
Mm.
okay, that's something that I can sort of those are notes. So I can be like, okay, let me try and sort of relook at it like from a it's more like you're sort of bringing in more conversations around it and sort of identifying okay, what is it that you want to how if there's like a feedback that you also agree with, or you're like, oh, I didn't notice that, and you want to sort of work on it. So then my immediate access is like okay, then how like just looking at it from like a bird's eye view and being like okay, what is it that can on a very tangible level, what is it that can make this sound right? Or if we're not able to crack it, what is the closest that we can get to? I think it's usually that.
Rightfully said. Shashwat, any artist um, in music preferably, who has had a profound influence on you, or a quote about them that has left a deep impact in your mind?
This is a very difficult one. Like, I think the thing is, like, I'm not very good with like remembering this kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
it's usually like I have like moments listening to a lot of different artists where I'm like, okay, this sort of this is like there's something really important happening in like this song, and like I'll just take that, like let that sink in.
Hmm.
Like the songs in PYAASA, like all the songs
Ah.
from PYAASA, like for everyone, I think a lot of people who I met, like a lot of us had like this moment of what is happening over here, like how is this so good. Or similarly, the first time I heard like someone like there's this band called Neutral Milk Hotel. Like
Okay.
the first time I heard this band, I was like, okay, it's these guys are making music which doesn't sound like studio processed or anything. It's just a bunch of people in a bedroom singing into a mic, performing into a mic, and owning everything, all the blemishes in the voice, all the characteristics, and like I think every artist that I like, my first introduction to them, which sort of converted me into liking them,
Hmm.
was like that profound moment of, okay, you can do this. Like there's
Hmm.
this whole side of music that like you can do this. Like it's just accepting what they're doing. So yeah.
Since we're talking about artists and bands that have left a profound impact, if I may ask you, Shashwat, from our Indian independent music scene, who are some of the
Yeah.
talents that you love listening to at leisure, and whose work you look out for?
For me, I think like the greatest indie album for me has been this album by Run It's the Kid, which was a band in Delhi, and they have like that's the kind of music that like really gets you going, and emotionally, like best songwriting, craft is on point, performance is on point. I think Run It's the Kid is one act that like they're the kind of acts that I want to listen to, and I know that I don't want to make, like I don't want to make my music sound like them because they're so authentic and
Yeah.
people are going to see it through, and like I just want like to enjoy that. So I think Run It's the Kid has been like that moment of, okay, this is, and like this is not like, it's not a recent album. That album came out I think in 2012 or somewhere like 2012 2014 type. So it's been like 8 years or so since that album
Correct.
came out. They're not active anymore, but it's still like one album that just sort of made me see like, okay, that the indie scene is beyond rock and everything. It's just like there's more to it. Yeah.
Well, apart from None, it's the Kid, anybody in the lately that you enjoy?
I I've been like a school time fan of PCRC, Peter Cat Recording
Yeah,
Company.
the cat
I've
recording.
been listening to a lot of them, and recently I heard I've been hearing like a lot of this. There's this rapper called Siddhant or Siddharth. I don't remember. He's got a song called Killa Kalla, and like that
Ah.
song, just I had this moment of him like it's a song about acceptance and where he is, and like it sort of just has been like I've been listening to that song on loop for quite a while now. So I think him, and then there's like a bunch of really good artists in like in Gujarat that I'm like
Hmm.
exploring. Like there's Meena Desai, who's a really good songwriter, and on top of that, she's got like a great singing voice to sort of back her songwriting. So there's her, and like I think it's just like everyone's good. Like I'm just trying to identify what is it that like I enjoy the most, but these are like some of the artists that I listen to on a regular basis.
You mentioned Meera Desai, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Well, I personally enjoy listening to this band called DUNEHEART, where this act from they're, I think, from
Oh
Gujarat
yeah.
only. Yeah.
Yeah, they're friends.
Oh, they're lovely. I really enjoy their music. I think I listened to a couple of their tracks maybe in 2020 or in 2021. I don't exactly
Yeah.
remember, but It was a very, very good. It was a very good album, and I was completely blown
Yeah.
away. And which actually is going to bring me to a question. My next question. Um, Shashwat, since you mentioned about enjoying certain acts that you do from Gujarat, from your home state, technically,
Yeah.
a lot of us, especially from the major indie hubs, from
Yeah.
Delhi, from Bangalore, from Pune, or from Chennai, or from Mumbai, I don't think so. We
Yeah.
are very, very particularly aware about the scene flourishing in Gujarat. Um,
Yeah.
of course, Gujarat is high on folk music. There are a lot of
Yeah.
local artists who are absolutely flourishing, and they really kill it at live performances.
Yeah.
But indie is not something we particularly associate with Gujarat. Do you
Yeah.
think that's a huge misconception there? Yeah.
So like the thing is like most people in India sort of look at it like from a very live point of view and like venue perspective. People are still like, for most people like indie is still like the live thing where you go to experience a band perform live. And like Gujarat, because of like the prohibition and everything, it doesn't have venues to offer as much.
Yeah.
But the thing is like that has sort of given like that sort of not having venues has also given rise to like almost all of us sort of to explore spaces which are left of center, which were not designed to be like venues, but they've ended up becoming like we've sort of taken up printing studios to become venues. Like it's sort of pushed like a lot of the other aspects behind the show where like all of us come together to do like design the space, like space design, experience design became a thing for us because we want to put together, we want to give an experience, but we don't have a venue or we don't have a bar or all of those things. How do we sort of get people who are inside the show to sort of take back an experience? So I think Gujarat has a lot of that where like almost like anyone who now comes to Gujarat from outside to perform, they're performing in like theater spaces and left of center spaces, and like it's just like for them to sort of, it's another experience. So it's like I think Gujarat is still finding its voice somewhere. Like
Yeah.
most of the artists are also there. There are obviously a few breakout artists and whatnot, but like it's also at the same time they're all trying to identify what they want to do with their music, and it's just a matter of like all of them like just taking that step of like, okay, let's put out our music and let's step out of Gujarat and perform and let them know that okay, we're artists from Gujarat, and we do make music and like just get led. So the first few years for any artist from a state which is not well known for independent music is
Hmm.
just letting people know of their existence.
Yeah.
And like so like which is why like 2011 to 2019 it took me 8 years to let people know that okay, I'm a musician and this is what I do.
Right.
So there's a lot of that. Yeah.
Well, very rightfully pointed out. I think it's all about visibility and accessibility and a good amount of awareness and information that's their disposal. Because
Yeah.
um, off the record, if I have to mention this, when I looked you up on a couple of websites that write about indie music, I have read the exact 4 lines in all the publications.
Yeah.
So it is literally information that has been fed by your team to them that they are
Yeah.
writing. It's not like the account of the person who is the journalist or the writer for that publication that's doing a little bit of research on the artist that you're writing about. So I totally
Yeah.
get where how all of this plays out. Um,
Yeah, like it's now part of my identity that I'm Baroda singer songwriter, Baroda musician.
yeah.
Like that's like a prefix that comes with my name.
Yes, it's funny. Since 2011, he hails from Baroda, singer-songwriter, as quoted by Vice Media. These are the exact, um, keywords that I have
Yeah.
pointed out in at least 4 or 5 publications. And I think, I'm
Yeah.
sorry to say, I think even Rolling Stone is one of it. But
Yeah.
it was a little, I was like, okay, is there some originality out there? Or like at least somebody can at least
Yeah.
change a word or two, or use synonyms, a different word, maybe. I don't know how it works. But lastly, Shashwat, just to conclude this interview, if I may ask, what next? Because clearly, the last 3 years since 2019 has been momentous for you as an artist. Um, how do you foresee, or where do you foresee yourself in the months to come?
I think just doing what I'm doing. Just continue to do what I'm doing. There's like like as I said, like I don't like I'd like to keep myself busy writing. So I'll just be doing I've already written a bunch of stuff, and like some of it is going to come out as an album early next year. So just there's a lot of work happening on that, and we're very close. Like we're on the home stretch to sort of announce, like have our dates and all in place. So there's like that happening, and just continuing to work on music, and now just like getting back on the road and performing again, and just I think doing what I'm doing
Yeah.
is what I want, where I want to be at the moment. Yeah.
I think and nothing can, more aptly sum up this interview that, on that note, just doing what you do and
Yeah.
being at it. Very rightfully said. Thank you so much, Shashwat, for your time. And thank you so much for this interview today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks a lot.